Our next panel is going to be on the Fintech, Unlocking Financial Transformation. And to welcome our moderator, I would like to welcome to the floor Debo Oshunboye. Please welcome to the stage, and he'll introduce his guests. We're going to have 40 minutes of conversation on fintech in Ghana and how it interconnects with Africa. So please welcome to the stage. Thank you so much. Round of applause.
So Ghana's fintech ecosystem has matured into a 300 billion mobile money powerhouse with 26.7 million active accounts, 5,900 agents worldwide. The government invested well over 50 million fintech growth funds. The Bank of Ghana, National Payment System Strategy, and forthcoming GhiPPS bill provided regulatory clarity and growth capital. For the UK investment, Ghana offers a scale in payment, digital lending, and insurtech, alongside a growing talent pipeline through the 1 million coders program. Ladies and gentlemen, I have my panelists here to discuss these initiatives. From my right, I've got Mr. Philip from Bank of Ghana. I have Dell from Web3 African Group, and I have Reginald from AFRICOIN Group. I have Clara from Ghana Inter-Payment Settlement System. And finally, I have Mr. Owureko from Bank of Ghana as well. So maybe I'll probably ask each of these panelists to kindly introduce themselves and also tell us exactly what they do. I'll start with Mr. Philip. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, colleagues. I think I would start by saying I'll call this team Huddle Gang. If you didn't laugh, then I guess you don't know, you're not well informed in the crypto space. So now I know the kind of audience I'm working with. Right. So my name is Philip Kwaw Sebuabe. I'm a treasury and then a blockchain expert. I've been in this space for over 10 years. My career has focused on bridging traditional finance and then decentralized finance. I'm currently the head of the virtual asset department at the Bank of Ghana, and I lead Ghana's supervisory and licensing framework for the virtual asset service providers. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip.
Thanks. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Moses Sule. I'm the CEO of CSL Pay. CSL Pay is a remittance company. We also hold an FS brokerage license, so very happy to see that we're talking about diaspora remittance, but supporting investment, so happy to be here.
Hi, everyone. Happy to be here. My name is Reginald Tumuslime. I'm the group co-CEO of a company called AFRICOIN, and the work we're doing is primarily to tokenize gold. But our long-term mission is to provide infrastructure that will enable every African country, every African commodity to get on-chain. So we're among the first batch of companies that made it to the Ghana Securities Exchange Commission sandbox in Ghana. We're HQ'd in Abu Dhabi, but our flagship market is Ghana. Happy to be here and look forward to sharing a lot more about what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Clara. I am Chief Executive Officer for Ghana Interbank Payments and Settlement System, GhiPPS. Prior to joining GhiPPS, I worked with EcoBank Group, worked with Fidelity Bank, worked with the UN, CDF, worked with the World Bank, and as of last year, I am CEO of GhiPPS. GhiPPS is wholly owned by the Bank of Ghana. My boss is here. So in other countries, you would have what I do sitting within the central bank. But for Ghana, 19 years ago, the central bank took a decision to set up Ghana Interbank payments systems. And what we do is enable and provide the rails that connect banks, fintechs, and mobile network operators. So currently on our network, we connect all the banks, we connect all the MNOs, we connect all the dedicated electronic money issuers. What we do, which I'm happy to announce, is manage the platform that drives interoperability for Ghana, which affords every Ghanaian in this room to be able to send money across a bank account or a mobile money network. That is foundational when it comes to payments, and that's what we do in Ghana and do it very well. So it's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, my name is Owureko Asare. I lead Fintech and Innovation for Central Bank of Ghana. If there's a pause with Clara's platform, I have sleepless nights. And, payment interoperability is really key for the fintech space, and the space is really growing. And if you listen to what the MC rightly said, it's actually becoming a major player. Just last year, 2025, the throughput that we experienced with mobile money is 3x of GDP for 2025. That should tell you that there's a lot that we expect to come. Prior to joining the central bank, which was last year, I used to lead digital solutions for EcoBank Group, working with 33 African countries. And I've had opportunity to see a lot going around in Africa. And I think what we are working together to move Ghana to the next frontier is an opportunity for investors to really pay attention to the country, because the value that you will get in coming to the country is quite rich. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So my next question, I think for me, let's start with the regulators, because for me, I think the regulators have to set the foundation, right? For every single thing that we do. And my question will probably go to Philip, first of all, right? How does Ghana regulatory roadmap, right, include the VA SAP framework, create a safe, scalable environment for fintech companies in the UK?
All right, thank you very much for that question. All right, so we will start with the foundation of the economy. We've seen inflation at its lowest. Exchange rate has actually stabilized. And then we've seen Ghana's reserve also increase significantly. So I think the Minister of Finance even alluded to the fact that we might see a 15 months of import cover very soon. So that's a very good foundation for us to establish or dwell on. So regulatory clarity is building the needed consumer trust and growing the potential for scalable businesses to thrive. So back to your question, to put it simply, regulatory roadmap of Ghana is designed to address the issue of consumer protection, market integrity, and then market compliance, AML/CFT compliance at the core. This removes regulatory ambiguity and gives businesses competitive advantage in both Ghana and the broader African market, right? So currently, what we have done is there has been a Virtual Asset Service Providers Act. Okay. It was a bill that was enacted into an act in 2025. The approach was to use a risk-based approach. And currently, we've seen other jurisdictions. We've seen their missteps and we've seen their successes. Like the US, for example, they have actually had to put across two acts. One that clarifies the previous act. So looking at all this, we noticed that no, we need to take a step back and then go to the drawing board. We have a co-regulator called the SEC, which is by my side here. So we have to come together and have a collaborative directive, a joint directive, in order to build a very robust regulatory framework. Then we also have the BOG. BOG has actually established a dedicated virtual asset department, which I feel is very commendable because every other jurisdiction probably uses their regulatory bodies like the SEC to regulate the space, but we have a dedicated virtual asset service department to take care of licensing and supervision. We've also launched Sandbox. There are 6 entities in the Sandbox currently. This Sandbox entities, what we are doing is to test models, product models in this space, gather compliance data and the likes. We want responsible innovation and not an unregulated innovation. So that's what we're looking at. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got additional panelists to join us as well. Mr. Dell from Web3 African Group, please come up to the stage. So can I also ask Mr. Owureko as well, obviously from the regulatory angle as well. In addition to what Mr. Philip has said, what are the things, what are the roadmaps, in addition to what he has said, that makes this a safe and scalable environment for UK firms to actually operate as well?
Thank you very much. I think for investors, I just want to assure you that regulatory certainty is the highest yield that you expect in the country. Because if you really need to come into the country to invest, and there's a lot of, as Philip rightly said, there's a lot of ambiguity around regulation, you will be self-doubting what is happening. But I think we've been able to establish real guardrails to be able to protect your investments, the consumers that you want to engage, and the landscape that you want to work within. I believe today, if you go back and you play the governor's inaugural video, everything that he promised is happening today. That should tell you the confidence that we brought into the country and for the investors as well. So I believe if you juxtapose where we were and where we want to get to, we have the right regulatory framework to be able to take us to the next frontier.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you very much. So my next question obviously goes to Reginald, right? What opportunity exists in Ghana for UK investors looking to get the virtual asset space? You know, I think this question is obviously focusing from the entrepreneurial side of things, right? We've heard about the regulators. They've already said to us that, you know, the framework are already there. So how do we play into this market?
Good question.
Into consideration
I think I keep telling people that this is going to be the most important opportunity for Africa. One of the key tailwinds we have as a continent, or broadly sub-Saharan Africa speaking, among many others, is our natural resources. So we have a great endowment of natural resources such as minerals. And in the case of Ghana, we're very large, gold exporters. And so one of the opportunities we've pursued is to tokenize these commodities, starting with gold. So tokenization is one of the most important opportunities we have in Africa to unlock our wealth. The other key opportunity, and it came up in prior discussions, has to do with stablecoins. So one of the key headwinds, as we have in Africa, is our fragmented nature. So we have over 30 currencies, as an example, not to mention the bottlenecks we face moving from country to country. So the growth of dollar-backed stablecoins we've seen, such as USDC or Tether, it's a good thing, and it's answering to a very pertinent problem, which is the fragmented nature of our countries, and the hardship of doing business across different parts of the continent. And so a number of central bankers are worried about the dollarization of our local currencies because of the growth of stablecoins. And so the other interesting opportunity to explore in this space is local currency-backed stablecoins. So how can the CD be, digitized? How do we then get into things like tokenizing other currencies, such as the Kenya shilling in East Africa, where I come from, or the e-Naira, and we've seen lots of examples. So I think as we scale, and our knowledge scales, and the right regulatory frameworks come across the different parts of Africa, that's one of the low-hanging fruits we have. I know that the Africa Free Continental Trade Area has done a number of things, such as the PAPS initiative, to try and decrease these bottlenecks of moving money across borders. But I think that stablecoins will be increasingly important to us as a continent. And lastly is the broad crypto play in the virtual asset space. One of the key other tailwinds we have in Africa is our young population. It's estimated that in the next 2 decades will contribute about 25% to the global working population as sub-Saharan Africa. We will have more people of working age in Africa compared to China. And so the key question is, what are we going to do with these young people? What are they really interested in? They're interested in these such new emerging technologies. And how is that really important to the context of the development of the continent? And just to close with one key statistic, right now, sub-Saharan Africa contributes about 3% to global output and about 5% to global growth. Okay? So if we increase our productivity to levels similar to those of India in the next 2 decades, we'll contribute about 10% to global output and about 20% to global growth. So these numbers were cited from a report that was done by Bridgewater, one of the largest hedge funds, in last year's 2024's Economic Development Assembly in Côte d'Ivoire. So this is how important our young people are. And so if we don't focus on ways to improve or increase their productivity, we will have issues because we are left behind on the AI front, which brings me to the last opportunity around creating AI infrastructure on the continent. Because if we don't deeply invest in that as well, it will lead to, winner takes it all kind of, inequalities for us as a continent. So I would cite those as key opportunities that we see in Africa. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for that. Also, another market player on my panelist as well is Mr. Dell. Same question to you. What opportunity exists in Ghana for UK investors looking to get the virtual asset space as well?
So I think, biasly, obviously the crypto exchange for me is an opportunity that I and other people have identified just purely because the numbers are there, right? Mm-hmm. Entities like, the big four, whether it's Binance, OKX, Kraken, Coinbase, mm-hmm. they're not coming into Africa, for fun and games. They have seen the numbers. Nigeria is the second largest, or third in some cases, depending on where the market is, largest place doing a lot of trades globally when it comes to cryptocurrency. But I think staying away from the exchanges is, I keep saying that the investment is in the infrastructure of virtual assets, right? When we say we are building the rails, we are not speaking about just cryptocurrency. It is the infrastructure that supports it. And in our case in Africa, there are so many different areas that needs that support. I keep stressing on the importance of having things on chain, not just tokenizing, but for example, our intellectual property, right? How we're going to have more control on our intellectual property. Also being in a situation where our governments, institutions are going to have a lot more insight by the data that they get, right? That's one of the key metrics that we need to be able to build an evolving economy going forwards. And obviously, I have great admiration for what the central bank is doing. Ora, Phil, and obviously our governor and deputy have made this a reality. Because 3-4 years ago, the conversation we're having is very, very different. And so now you have a situation where an entrepreneur can actually come into the Ghanaian marketplace and look at multiple layers in the country and decide to say, okay, where can I basically maximize resources and value using virtual assets as a medium?
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. So thank you, Mr. Dell, for that explanation as well. My next question goes to Clara. For me, I think this particular question is very, very critical, right? Because if you don't build a proper ecosystem, you know what technology does. Everything falls apart. So, Clara, how can Ghana mobile money ecosystem be leveraged to expand into the digital lending, into tech, and cross-border payments across Africa?
Okay, thank you very much. Let me take you on a journey. Before Philip spoke and before Owureko spoke, I think investors like certainty. Investors like to know what sort of regulatory environment we operate in. Ghana's journey in the digital financial services didn't just start with the passage of the Virtual Assets Providers Bill, now an act. We started this journey in 2015, in fact, before 2015, when the central bank, after setting up GhiPPS, launched the branchless banking guideline. Branchless banking guideline was to afford banks to veer into sort of taking banking or financial services from big rooms like we are sitting in, huge floors where people, the whole idea about Africa then was financial inclusion was very low. So let's form some basis. We have built on from where we started from. In 2015, Ghana's financial inclusion was about 58%. Fast forward to now, I think the global index now, we are on 91%. Where look globally, financial inclusion is about 79%. But for Ghana, I think we have achieved that. This wasn't done overnight. This is because of a conscious effort by the central bank to ensure that we had a regulatory environment that would have us sit here today on this table and talk about Virtual Assets Providers Act. One of the other key things the Bank of Ghana did was the dedicated electronic money issuers. That is what brought the mobile money business that we are all talking about today. The growth of mobile money happened because the central bank saw it's a necessity to have that framework which gave non-banks, such as Momo from MTN, which you know, Telecel now, AT Money, Ghana Pay, which is actually the national payment wallet set up in conjunction between the Bank of Ghana, Ghana Association of Banks, and GhiPPS. This is foundational because this is what the central bank has done to give investors like yourself the confidence to come into Ghana and look at what we've built on our domestic payment rails. In 2016, when we moved on to include non-banks onto the instant payment rails, it was to look at a situation whereby banks had been doing it for a long time around instant payments. Instant payment is supposed to drive the economy because it affords you instant settlements, it affords you instant credit, it affords you instant debit. What this means is that it allows you to be able to innovate. It gives you data. In this room, I'm sure we all have relatives who are happy to talk about quick loan from MTN, who are happy to talk about what Jumo is doing, who are happy to talk about digital credit. The Bank of Ghana has passed a digital credit framework, which allows investors to come in, leverage what we have done in the domestic market space. If we hadn't done all of these from 2015, 2018, and finally to the passage of the Payment Systems and Settlement Act in 2019, this allowed non-banks to be within the licensing framework of the central bank, which today gives us banks and non-banks. A lot of you fintechs in this, in fact, today when I walked in here, I was very happy because I have seen fintechs that are licensed in Ghana, and now we have the same fintechs that are licensed in the UK. And it gives me great joy because this is what regulation gives you, whereby we can export fintechs from Ghana to the UK. And it gives all of you confidence to know that you can come into Ghana and look at what we've done on the regulatory side to give you confidence. That is what investors like. If we don't build on all of these things, then we're not going to sit here to talk about stable coins. I'm happy to hear all the things we've done, but the foundational that the Bank of Ghana did, collaboratively with all the non-banks in this room, was to ensure that we've got a legal framework that would allow you to come in. So now, what has mobile money done? This mobile money that we are talking about in Ghana is as a result of all of these frameworks and the passage of all of these acts that has spared the growth of mobile money in Ghana. Today, using your mobile money footprint, I can give you a loan product. Wow. Using your mobile money footprint, you can have an insurance product. Using your mobile money footprint, you can actually have agri-tech. We've got so many. I mean, I see them. We've got Complete Farmer. We've got all of these agri-tech companies that have come up. And this is because of the regulation that the central bank put in place. So for me, we can never talk about the advancements we've made in mobile financial services without looking at the impact that regulation has actually given us. And that is the reason why we are saying that when it comes to Ghana, we've got harmonized policies across all the regulators, if it's NPRA, if it's Securities and Exchange Commission, the Bank of Ghana, and the National Insurance Commission. What this means is that leveraging the mobile money data that you talk about, you can have products across. And for us, it's about financial health. We're no longer talking about access to finance. I think for Ghana, we have access to finance. We're no longer talking about use cases. Today, you can see all the use cases. What we are asking for is financial health, where we are asking that leveraging all these regulations that we have, investors can now come to Ghana because we've got payment rails that ensure that you can have payments. And even in the virtual market space, that is where we come in to give you the off-ramp. Because when you've done all of the stable coins, when you've done all the fiat money, when you've done all the digital currency, you would still need to have money. At the end of it all, you need to have fiat money, and that is the role national payment infrastructure like ourselves provide, whereby we can build on that rail and ensure that you all come on and then you layer on. So on the foundation, you've got banks, you've got mobile money operators, you've got virtual asset providers, and then we can take financial service to the doorstep of every Ghanaian and ensure that financial inclusion is available to every Ghanaian. And this gives comfort to all investors in this room who come in knowing that we've got a regulatory environment to spur on investment within the digital financial services in Ghana.
Fantastic. So, here we go. I think you've heard Claire said it all. The ecosystem is there. The digital assets are also there as well. So the chance for you to invest, the ecosystem is actually stable. My next question also, I'm not sure how we're doing for time, probably goes to Philip as well, probably the final one. How is Ghana positioning itself as a regional hub for compliant digital asset innovation in Africa space?
All right, so thank you for that question. So I think currently what we've done is to have the legislation where we have a legislation that has adopted international standards. So talking about the FATF Recommendation 15 and then also the Financial Stability Board's high-level recommendation that creates some level of trust and then confidence in investors. We also have the supervisory. Bit of it where we have the sandbox where the entities. We have about 6. The first cohort, which is about 6 entities, where we are regulating and providing. We are gathering compliance data on, and also we are helping build testing product models with them. And we are looking at a space where, as at 2025, transaction volume was about $10 billion. That should tell you how active the market is, with about 3 million users. So we are looking at an economy that is growing, a space that is growing in the virtual asset space. Currently, we are developing directives and then guidelines for the virtual asset service providers. We are in joint collaboration with SEC. We have a standalone stablecoin, like my brother here said, because stablecoin itself is very necessary. And then what Dell also mentioned the fact that we are building. The financial system is actually changing. It's becoming blockchain is becoming the infrastructure that's underlying it's becoming the technology underlining the infrastructure. So we want to build. What we want to do is to regulate not regulate the technology, but regulate the activities of the technology, because it is business as usual, if you ask me.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I know we've heard all these positive vibes and comments as well. But in 30 seconds, I would like to ask my panelists, right? Starting from you, Mr. Philip, what keeps you awake at night?
This question, I have to take time to answer because my boss is here. Anyway, I would say speed of adoption versus supervisory capacity. Supervisory capacity. We are here talking about, today we are talking about how to tokenize or how to classify certain coins, utility tokens, security tokens, and then we are debating with co-regulators as to how to regulate the space. But when the market has actually moved on, if you ask me, AI, currently what is happening in the market is there's AI agent economy. Ask me what that is. This is where crypto space is currently. They are employing or empowering AI tools or AI agents to own virtual accounts or to own wallets, where you can rent an AI agent and then say, complete a task for a fee. So you end up paying an AI agent, and then it does execute the transaction, takes the funds, and then you go to sleep, you go to bed, but that AI agent is still 24/7 online. So here's the fun part. Imagine another AI agent talking to another AI agent. The two together are going to determine your future. Yeah, so that's what keeps me up at night.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think for me, the biggest stuff for us as Africans, I'm originally from Nigeria, I think for us to have framework that allow for license passporting, and so I hold an FCA license here in the UK. Why can't I operate on the back of that license through the rigor that I have gone through to hold this license, to do business in Nigeria, to do in Ghana, to do in Kenya? And so that is super critical. We've seen what licenses can do. Okay. Not to take much of our time, when the guys from Binance flew to Nigeria wanting to solve the crypto stuff, we saw that they were kept for a long period of time. But we're grateful to Ghana almost making that environment available for businesses to almost latch onto that, so there is clarity. So what will keep me awake at night as the CEO of CSL Pay, it's for us to be able to have that passporting of our license that you have in this country, very rigorous. Then you can almost go into much of our other markets to do those stuff. Thanks.
Absolutely. I'm sure you have the regulators listening to you as well, so probably take note. Mr.
I
Reginald?
think for me, it's marketing Africa as an asset class. Very difficult work, but very committed to doing so. We imagine a world where capital from the global north or anywhere in the world that is seeking a place should look at Africa as one single marketplace, right? So marketing it as one asset class. And just listening to the CEO of the Ghana Stock Exchange earlier, she mentioned that, one of the things that were a bit surprising was the amount of money that was leaving Ghana into crypto, as an example. But herein lies the opportunity. How can we tokenize the Ghana Stock Exchange? In a few years, we'll have trillions and trillions of value in the tokenized space. So, and I think that's the single most important opportunity for us as Africans to leverage emerging technologies such as blockchain to market Africa as a single marketplace or a single asset class. So that's what keeps us awake at night. And we're very excited to be part of Ghana. I think Ghana, in my experience, has been one of the most profound markets we've ever been to. I can tell you for sure. Very talented people, very forthcoming regulators, very smart frameworks on the regulatory side of things. And so, and I recall in our first meeting with regulators, thanks to our ED, our country ED in Ghana, Mr. Kojo Hastings, we met a number of regulators, and one of the things that I kept saying is, why aren't you guys thinking about an international financial center that is virtual assets cleaning? You have incredible young people, very smart. You have the right regulators in the Bank of Ghana, in the Securities Exchange Commission. What can we do on the West Africa block to market Accra? You've told a story about resilience, from how you came out of a ditch, for lack of a better word, to now a place where you're being looked at as a case study for economic recovery on the continent. So how can you leverage all these key insights, tools, good news, to position yourselves as a VA-leaning international financial center? So I have no doubt that Ghana will be a fantastic market for entrepreneurs like ourselves. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. 30 seconds. I think we're also running out of time as well.
We are getting there.
Okay.
But just to let you know, in terms of passporting, we have started on continent. We have. In fact, Ghana and Rwanda has a fintech passporting, and even Rwanda and Kenya. So I think what we need to do is that let's get those going, and then once we have that blue, I call it playbook, we can actually ensure that we have it with Nigeria. We in Ghana are talking to Nigeria, and for us it's important. But what keeps me at night, in 2020, GhiPPS processed, we crossed over 1 billion transactions, interoperable transactions. What that means is that transactions that are across either bank accounts or mobile money wallets. What keeps me at night? My target is to process 4 billion transactions in the next 3 years. So that keeps me awake. How to ensure that I've got the infrastructure that would support this groove. And that's what keeps me awake, and that's what my team and I here are working towards. So that's what keeps me awake.
Thank you.
Okay, for me, I think to ensure that trust is not broken.
Right.
Digital financial services anchors on trust. Right. I quite remember 2007 when we started mobile money. Customers would deposit funds in their wallets at the agent A and go to agent B to take it out. And if we don't protect that trust, i.e. cyber attack, i.e. fraud coming into the ecosystem, all the successes that we've recorded, where I'm talking about 3x of the throughput coming through mobile financial services, is our GDP. We can actually be impacted. So I think what keeps me at night is to ensure that trust is not broken. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Mr. Dell.
Well, coincidentally, today is my birthday.
Congratulations.
So I'm going to use this opportunity to maximize my request. The first request will go to Governor. I see he's looking on his phone. But no, basically, with the central bank, I guess it's a balancing act. We've been working with them collaboratively. And so how ironic that on my birthday, I'm actually sitting here on a panel with my two favorite regulators, including the governor and the fellow entrepreneurs, which is an honor, to be honest. But what keeps me up at night is the cadence between regulator and entrepreneurs.
Right.
So regulators in Ghana have done a great job in making sure that there are guardrails, right? And I would say that the framework has attracted a lot of visibility and a lot of entrepreneurs coming. But at the same time, naturally, as entrepreneurs, we're quite impatient, right? We want to innovate, we want to move quickly, we want to build things. And so I believe that there is a moment that Ghana, I keep saying it, we need to seize. And why we are seizing it is because we are in a position where people look towards the country and the regulation and the entrepreneurs to really help to innovate this particular industry. It's not the numbers. It's not just the numbers. It's about what this means in hindsight for Africa. right? We are literally contributing towards history, but it will be really valued in time, right? When you think of what the central bank have done pertaining to rolling out a virtual asset policy. So what really keeps me up, as I said, is the cadence between innovation and regulation, so that they're going at a speed that would allow us to basically be at the forefront of this industry.
Thank you. Thank you very much. A round of applause for my panelists. I think it's been an insightful conversation, the fintech, digital asset, and innovation. Thank you.
Take a picture.